Hey everybody, Chad from Patriot Astro. Today I want to talk to you about yet another new plugin available in Nina. Remember, Nina introduced plugins in 1.11, so if this is a feature that interests you, it may be another reason to upgrade. We've talked about a couple other plugins so far, specifically around creating your custom filter offsets and polar alignment. These are both great plugins and extremely powerful, but in both cases, they're something you would either use occasionally or just at the beginning of your session. Today, I'm going to talk to you about a plugin you may want to incorporate into every single one of your imaging sessions. And this plugin is called Ground Station, and it's written and maintained by Ghent. I'm really excited about this plugin and the possibilities we have once installed. So before we dig in, let's cover what it is at a high level. The Ground Station plugin makes 3 services available to Nina: email, pushover.net, and lastly, if this, then that. For each of those services, Ground Station gives us a pair of advanced sequencer commands. Let's first cover email. With email integration, we get a sequencer command that lets us send an email with a custom subject and message body. Maybe you want to receive an email at a certain point of the sequence, like after a meridian flip, or maybe just when the sequence starts or when it ends. The command will execute just like any other advanced sequencer command. When it's time to run, it'll send you the email you want. If you put it in a loop, it'll send emails all night long as it cycles through the loop. The second advanced sequencer command we have for email is a trigger that will send an email message if a failure is registered within Nina. So let's say plate solving fails during your imaging session. That trigger will immediately send you an email. The second integrated service we'll talk about is Pushover.net. Pushover is a push messaging system that can send messages that'll pop up on your desktop, iPhone, or Android phone. Pushover does have a one-time $5 fee to activate the service per platform. So if you pay a $5 fee for the iPhone option, you can use that on all of your iPhones and iPads after paying the fee. It's not per device, it's per platform. By the way, there is a 30-day free trial if you want to test it out. So if you like push messaging that pops up on your phone, this could be a great option. Just like with email, we have 2 advanced sequencer commands. We can either send a push message as a single command, just like we did with email, maybe after a meridian flip or the end of the session, just to tell us what's going on throughout the sequence. Or we can use a push message as a result of Ground Station triggering based on a failure within Nina. So just like with email, if something fails during our session, we can be notified via a pop-up message on our computer, phone, or tablet. Okay, those 2 messaging options are great, and I can think of a number of times where that would have been helpful in the past. But this next one is the one that's most exciting to me. Integration with if this, then that, or IFTTT. If you're not familiar with this service, it is really powerful. It basically works just like its name: if this, then that. So a quick example. We can say if Nina sends a specific message to IFTTT, then enter a row of information into a Google Sheets document, or send me an email, or send me an SMS, or call me, or turn my lights on, or add a song to my playlist, or any of the above at the same time. Just like the other services integrated by the Ground Station plugin, we can do this as a one-time call somewhere in the sequence, or within a loop, or based on failure of a command within Nina. So what's a practical example? Why not set a trigger to turn one of my Philips Hue light bulbs red if I encounter a failure during my sequence overnight? Maybe I want to make sure that at the beginning of my sequence, while I'm cooling my camera and unparking my scope, I can also make sure that my sprinkler system's turned off, my outdoor house lights are off, and maybe I want to arm that security camera that's monitoring my telescope. This is all possible because of the Ground Station plugin. All right, enough talk. We're going to dive right in and look at some installation and configuration. Before we do that, and I'll say this again later, make sure you understand what your integrations are doing within your sequence. There's a lot of interesting IFTTT services that you can use, and some of them might get you into some trouble, but stick around and see what I mean. We're going to have a little fun with this.
So the typical recommendation is that you always make sure you're running the latest nightly. And the same goes for plugins. Make sure that the plugins you run are updated. Notice there's a check for updates at the bottom. The plugin we're looking for right now is Ground Station by Ghent. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that one. It is available. Dale actually has a web page with a little bit of support information here and some contact information at the bottom. I do suggest you check on that from time to time. So when you're ready, you can just go ahead and do the install with the button in the upper right-hand corner. And like the other plugins, it will tell you we need to restart Nina. So we'll just shut Nina down and then restart that here. Now, if we go back to plugins, we'll notice that it is an installed plugin and we have several configuration options. So the first one I talked about earlier was email integration. It's very, very practical. It's also really boring to demo. I'll show you some email integration with other tools later, but from a setup perspective, it's quite simple. So we're going to start with Pushover. Pushover is a push messaging system, as I mentioned earlier, and it gives you the ability to get pop-up messages on your devices. So in the configuration, you'll notice that the various services have some links that we can click on. Here we're going to click on the pushover.net link, and that'll bring us to the Pushover website. Now, before we do anything here, I'm going to pull up my iPhone and launch the Pushover application I can install from the App Store. I'm going to allow message notifications so that I do get the pop-ups, and I'm going to sign up for an account from here. So I'll give it my email address, I'll put in a password, repeat the password, and then I'll click create account. The next thing it'll do is ask me to name this device. For my Patriot Astro phone, I'll call it PA_iPhone. And again, this is just the device that'll show up in the website here in a minute. At that point, it'll give you your user key and an email address you can use to get pushover messages. So if you send something to that email address, you'll get a push message. Don't need that information here. We'll see it on the website here. So now I'll go back to the website and I'll log in using those credentials I just created on my iPhone. And once I'm in, once again in the upper right hand corner, I can see that user key. It's going to be a little bit more accessible here on the web page. And just below that, I'll see my email address. And then further down on the left here, I've circled both the device that we created and the email address is repeated once again. From the upper left hand corner of the web page, you can send a test message. I'll go ahead and do that with my phone up on the screen. I'm going to send a simple hello world message, and that comes through really quickly, as you can see here. Now, within the Pushover app, you can see the message comes up in a list here. So they are retained on the phone once the messages come up. So if you get 50 of them, they'll all be there. Now, the next thing we need to do is scroll down the page and create a new application. I'll just name it Nina and give it a description. Then accept the terms and create the application. And this is important because it gives us our application key from the Pushover service. We're going to need that back here on the ground station configuration page within Nina. So we put our app key in the application, and remember our user key at the top, grab that as well and put that in the Pushover user key field. These are encrypted in the data store within Nina, so don't worry about that so much. Now for my test, I'm using simulated devices. That shouldn't really matter because I can still show the failures. Now, I'm going to create a dummy sequence here just for test purposes, and I'm going to dump the moon in it. It's the middle of the day, and I just need some device so that Nina thinks I'm trying to look at something. I'm going to grab a single-second exposure here with the simulated camera. That'll just be a black picture, but that's fine. It doesn't matter. What I really care about from a failure scenario is I'm going to use the slew and center command. When it tries to take the picture and plate solve, it'll obviously fail because we're using the simulated camera. Now, there is one other thing, and you see the note on the screen here right now. I'm adding an extra command to the end of my sequence. And the reason is that triggers are only checked as each new command executes. So if the last command in my sequence were to be the slew and center command, and it failed, if there was no subsequent command, triggers would not be checked, and the sequence would just end. Well, we want to know when slew and center fails, so I need to make sure there's another command after it. Now, in a typical sequence, slew and center would never be last, but if you are worried that you're going to miss something based on a trigger, you can always add something like a wait for 1 second at the end of your sequence, and you know that that'll be the last command that runs and that triggers will always be evaluated before that final command. But again, this is really just more about the fact that I'm running a demo sequence and I want to make sure that I can illustrate a trigger firing based on slew and center failing, so I'm putting another command afterwards. Okay, so let's go take a look at our advanced sequencer commands that we got from ground station. There are 2 for email, 2 for IFTTT, and 2 for pushover. 3 of them are triggers and 3 are just regular commands. So let's grab the send to pushover command. and we'll just drop that in there. And that's, again, just a one-time push message. And we have some basic configuration that we'll go ahead and enter here. So I've called the title of it Nina Running. I've put a message in there. It's a normal priority. There's a lot of sound options to choose from. But basically, I've got a message here that says sequence started, and it's the first command that'll run in the sequence. I'm also going to use a trigger, and the trigger is failures to pushover. Notice that this one doesn't have any real definition other than what's the priority. In this case, it's not normal, it's high. And then we also have a sound definition. And remember, the trigger's job is to catch failures. So I'll pull my phone up here, and then we'll just go down to the bottom right of the sequence and go ahead and start the sequence. Notice immediately the first command to run caused the pop-up on my phone with that simple message telling me the sequence started. Now keep your eye on the red circle here. We're waiting for the slew and center to fail, and it will fail in the simulator because it's not going to be able to solve a black image. And notice immediately the trigger fires, and we can see that it tells us that slew and center failed. So we're getting push-based messaging to our phone in near real time based on this plugin, right? This could be really, really powerful for us to get this type of messaging throughout the evening. So let's move on to what I find to be the most exciting part of this plugin, which is the IFTTT integration. Remember, that's if this, then that, right? So basically, if Nina reaches out to IFTTT via the ground station plugin, then do something. So here we are back in the ground station plugin configuration, and we're looking at IFTTT webhooks, and we'll just click the link here to bring us over to the IFTTT page. Now, I've already created an account. You may have to create one. And once you've created the account, you will either have the free account or you can go pro. So the free account lets you have up to 3 applets, and the applets have to be simple applets, basically meaning that you can do if something, then one thing. If you go pro, which is a subscription and does have an extra cost, but you can have more than 3 applets, and they can be more complex, meaning more than one outcome simultaneously. Once you get here, you'll need to enable webhooks if you haven't done that already. Once you've done that, click on documentation, and you'll have your key up top. This is the key you're going to need to copy and paste into the ground station configuration. So we'll grab a copy of that here. We'll come back over to Nina, and then we'll just paste that in the IFTTT webhook key location. And now we're ready to be integrated. So at this point, very similar to what we had with Pushover, we can look and see that we do have multiple options for IFTTT. We have the regular command as well as the trigger. And we're going to start with the regular command here. So you'll notice that there is an event name. This event name is critical. Whatever we put here must match the applet name within IFTTT. Remember, you get 3 of these with your free account. If you need more than 3, you'll need a subscription. If you want more complex outcomes, meaning more than one resulting action, you'll also need a subscription. So you got a couple options here. Now within this particular command, other than the event name, we also have value 1, value 2, and value 3, which we can populate. And I'll show you how that gets used within if this, then that. So we've populated it with some data here, and we're going to go ahead, go back to webhooks, and we're going to create an applet. Now, first thing you do is say if this. Now, in this particular case, the if this is always webhooks, right? Because that's what Nina is going to talk to. And we're going to click on receive a web request. This is where we must put a matching event name. So I'll put Nina underscore message just like I did in Nina. Then we can click on then that to determine what the outcome will be when Nina passes that event through webhooks. Here I'm going to use something super simple, something everybody can test because you probably all have Gmail accounts, and I'm just going to use Gmail. Now when using the Gmail outcome within an applet, it's pretty straightforward. Just go ahead and populate the fields, and I'm going to do that pretty quickly here. You'll notice that you can customize everything, including the subject information. I'll put Nina message. and then even the body. Now notice there are some highlighted elements. Those are called ingredients within IFTTT. They're variables, right? So value 1, value 2, value 3, if you remember, that's where that data will be placed. So I'm going to customize this really quick and fast forward just a little bit here to speed this up. So notice this field does accept HTML, so I'm putting the BR tag, which is just a line return, right? So we'll come back here, we'll go ahead and click continue to commit it. Now I can edit the applet title, which I'll just rename here Nina_message for ground station, just something that lets me know what the applet is for, but it's still simple enough not to get too busy. So we'll go ahead now and click finish to commit this within IFTTT, and we can see it's ready and it's connected, which means it will execute if called upon. So I'll come back here to Nina, and if we look at this, we can just execute and see what happens. Now, very quickly, our first command was the IFTTT call. And you can see that I did get an email. Here's the email results. And you can see the formatting, right? So the formatting matches what I configured in IFTTT. So that was very, very straightforward. So if you use this command anywhere without a sequence, you can make sure that you get the desired outcome. In this case, it would be an email. So now let's look at the trigger. Now, again, the trigger does have an event name and it must match something within IFTTT. Here, I'm going to call it Nina_error. So now we have two different types of messages that we can send to IFTTT, right? So we have Nina_message and Nina_error. So I'm going to create another applet within IFTTT. Again, we're going to use webhooks, and this time the event name is Nina_error. Then we can go to the second part. And again, I'll just use Gmail to keep it simple. And I'll certainly accelerate this configuration. But again, I can customize this for the outcome I want, right? So I can make this look exactly like I want the email to look. So I'll go ahead and click continue, and then I'll modify the applet title here. So just something that I can recognize. And we'll commit that. So now again, it's connected, and now we've got a second applet, and we can see both of them here, including some others I have that are on my IFTTT account. So now we'll go ahead and test this one. And again, notice that the first command executes and we get an email as expected. It's our start of sequence message. And now we're waiting for slew and center to fail. And as soon as that fails, the next time the trigger is checked, which is the next message, should cause the failure to be picked up. And again, it is. And now our Nina error applet has fired and we get a different message type. And we can see there was an error with slew and center. Now, these were basic IFTTT outcomes. With the Pro account, again, I can do something more complex. So just as an example, if I go into Nina Message, I can edit this by going up to Settings in the upper right-hand corner. And then where it says, if this, then send email, below that there's a plus sign. I can click there and add additional actions. And again, this is only something you can do with a paid subscription. But maybe beyond just an email, I want to do some other things. So here I'm looking for Ratio, which is my automation of my lawn sprinkler system. Maybe I want to turn that off so I don't soak my gear. I can use my integration with SmartThings, which is my home automation for my lighting and things like that. And another option is a push style message. Within IFTTT, they have something called notifications. Now, it's not quite the same as what we have in Pushover, but it could serve the same purpose if you want to. So I can actually go ahead and integrate with their notifications app and get a push style message sent to me this way, right? And again, I'll just customize this using the ingredients, which are the same variables Nina would pass. And when that's done, we can see we now have multiple outcomes as a result of that particular request coming from Nina. So if we just test this, and I'll pull my phone up on the left, we'll see that initially the command executes, we get the Nina message, and I get a pop-up message on my phone. Again, similar to what Pushover can accomplish. I do like Pushover a little bit better. It seems to be a little bit faster, but there are so many options within IFTTT that you can do most anything you want to do if you have any type of web-enabled service or product available to you. They probably have already created applets and have a service within IFTTT. And I've shown you a couple basic ones, but let's have a little bit of fun with this and just look at something you may not expect to be integrated. And we're going to create a new event type here, and we're going to call it Nina_pizza. I know sometimes you get that telescope out late at night and you're hungry. I've got a solution for you now. So we're going to create a new applet within IFTTT. And of course, how do we start? It's a webhook, right? So we start with the webhook and we're going to give it the name Nina_pizza so that it matches. Now, once that's created, what are we going to call? Well, wouldn't you know it? Domino's Pizza has an action. Now, for this to work, you need to first connect this to your account, which means you need a Domino's account. And I'm going to go ahead and log into mine here. Of course, I'm not going to show you my name and credentials, but you're going to log into your Domino's account and then approve IFTTT access. Now, the way this works is it'll hook your account, it'll show you your phone number, and it'll show you your easy order. You need to go into your Domino's account and create an easy order or multiple easy orders, and then you link that easy order, right, of 1 cheese pizza, 1 pepperoni pizza, whatever it happens to be. You link that to this particular applet. Now, when Nina calls this, it will place this order. So you got to make sure you're hungry. This may not be something you want to do with every sequence or any sequence for that matter, but it just shows the power of IFTTT integration. So if I were to run this, it would work. Now, quickly, we need to talk about loops here because we're getting to dangerous territory. Notice I have Nina_pizza being called. What if I dropped that inside a looping condition and said, hey, I want you to loop this for maybe about 8 hours? Well, it is going to loop that command over and over and over. Now, I would hope that Domino's would notice this. Otherwise, I'm going to get about 189 pizzas from 189 different Domino's drivers. Don't do this, right? Be very careful. Make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. You can do the same with emails, but I'd rather have 189 emails.
All right, so what do you think? Definitely let me know in the comments below. Plugins are a powerful extension to Nina, and when added to the advanced sequencer, the skies really are the limit. And remember, we're just getting started. If you have questions about what I covered in this video or anything I covered in any of my other videos, or just any general astrophotography topic, feel free to reach out to me. You can reach me on Instagram at patriot_astro, reach me in the comments below this or any of my other videos, or visit my website at www.patriotastro.com and connect with me that way. My goal is to be a resource for you, just like so many others before me were a resource to me. This hobby is all about learning and growth, and we can do that better together. Good luck and clear skies.